wanna run away. I think I'll go back to that place I stay. Play on the server the TimeShot way.
Hello people, it's Poet, and I'm back on TimeShot. Now, I've been doing a little bit of work off camera, as I do. I would like to show you guys what I've kind of been up to. But I'd like to at least gather some supplies here, because I don't know quite what we're going to be doing today, but I kind of felt a little bit more inclined, I would say, than usual to building a little bit on camera. So I don't know what that's going to entail, but I have a feeling that I'm going to need a lot of this dark oak and spruce logs like I've been using for everything in this world. And I thought today that my topic, considering it's the holidays right now, mind you, not the holidays for everyone in the world, but it's the holidays for, I'd say, most people. I figured that I would talk about family. Recently on the TimeShot Reddit, there was a post made about family traditions and about what people generally do during the holidays. And I kind of, when I gave my little story, it was kind of depressing in a way when I looked back at it, thinking to myself, you know what? It's kind of sad that, all these people have wonderful stories of getting together with their families and so on. And I don't. I used to get together with my family when I was little, but as the years went by, I think we just grew more and more apart. We didn't grow apart. I mean, we still, if we were to get together, it would be the same as always, but we just don't enjoy stress, I guess, in my family is a good way of putting it. It seems that my family takes steps to not have that kind of stress in our lives of having to get together with family and preparing meals and that kind of thing, which I think is partially excusable. My mom and my aunts and my cousins and everybody work really, really, really hard to get those meals for Christmas and presents and stuff all planned out. But no, it's just a lot of stress. And I think that they just don't want it anymore. So there was something happened somewhere down the road, and they all just decided, you know what, we're not going to do this anymore. Do you kids mind? Kids being the younger generation of people in the family. We said, no, by all means, you guys deserve a break. So that's that. That is all that there is. It's done. Let's see here. I'm trying to, if you didn't know what I'm doing here, I would like there to be a wall, a hallway, or something along this way in the house. I know that it looks like this right now. I'd like to extend it just a little bit, just a tiny bit. And I might even have just a flat roof on it. So it would kind of, more or less, go out to about there. Yeah. So out to about there. But that doesn't leave very big space for doing much in. If I have another wall here, it would literally be a 1 by 1 or a 1 by 2 hallway. It would be kind of cramped. I could dig into the wall, which aesthetically would work. That's the border of the ground outside right there. And as long as I never uncover it, that might be okay. It'll be something that I have to think about. Yeah. Now that I've completely broken a hole into the side of this, I'm going to have to stop and actually think about this a little bit more and kind of try to consider, what am I doing here? What am I wanting to accomplish in this space? I just want to dress it up a little bit and have different furnaces and stuff along the back wall. Maybe some crafting tables and things. Not much you can do with the space that I've just given myself. No. Not much space at all. Kind of like that. Yeah. Well, it's better than nothing, I guess. But anyway, back to the family thing. Yeah, we don't do very much for the holidays, is what I was getting at. Where a lot of people go back home for the holidays, they get together with family, they spend time together. My family, on the other hand, is kind of like, we all just do our own thing. If we get together just for some coffee or something like that, then that's great. That's fine. But nobody really makes a big point of doing it, you know? We don't really have a big dinner planned with the whole family, is what I mean. So, in a way, that's a little bit sad because, you know, so many people have these wonderful traditions. And my family, I mean, we used to get together all the time, as I was saying. To give you a little bit of a background of my family's holiday traditions, I guess. When my grandmother was still alive, she passed away in about 2000 and I'm gonna say 2007, possibly. But it was in December, so it may have been 2006, and I'm just thinking it's 2007. I can't really remember. Anyway, not important. The details aren't important, I should say. When she was still alive, her children, so my mother, it was my mother's side, my mother and my aunt and my uncle were her children, used to make a point of getting together for the holidays. And it was for her benefit, really, is what they've always said. As to the reason why we don't do it anymore is because they said, well, it was, you know, mostly for her benefit to see the family all together and coming together for the holidays and spending time with her. Which is odd that they say that now, like, because we've obviously asked, you know, when the holiday time comes around and we're not going to our family's house and stuff like that, we're like, well, you know, are we having a dinner this year? Are we doing things together this year? What's going on? And the reason that they give is usually, well, you know, we used to just do that for her benefit. It wasn't so much, you know, for the meal or to getting together or anything like that. Which is, and I find that odd because when we used to get together, it was never really kind of obvious that, hey, we're together for you, Grandma. We're together for you. It was kind of just everybody was doing their own thing even then. So it's kind of odd that they say that that's the reason now, but it does kind of make sense in a way, I suppose. Everybody has their own reasons. So I'm just going to take a quick pause here and show you what I worked on off camera. Is this little house here. Just a tiny little cottage. And I think that it looks pretty decent. I spent a lot of time trying to get the roof to look kind of right. I don't know that I'm 100% happy with it. I was maybe a little bit happier when these were gone, because then it looks more like, you know, the big what is this called? Not a steeple, but like the protruding thing from the roof. Kind of, it goes down into the building. It looks like a little bit more. And of course, I formed these kind of based similar to the roof up there, where I've got the Norse style topper, and I got the same Norse style thing there. But I didn't put any bumps in the top like I did up there. Like up there, it's quite wavy, and up here it's just flat. So I don't know if I like that. I might change it up a little bit. Oh, come on. I was getting up there before. Ugh. Wasn't I? Thought I was. When I was working on it, I was jumping across. I swear I was. Well, that just won't do, will it? Either way, yeah, I might put some ridges in here, but it's hard when the roof is just so flat as it is. So I've been working on this, and it's kind of a cute idea I had. Is similar to other people, what they're doing on the server, is that, you know, for little things like your farm, you don't just have a room filled with cows like I have right now. Or I used to have, I should say. All the cows are now gone, and this is what's left. Instead, you have it looking more realistic. So I put a little fenced-off thing. I got sheep from... There were actually a few sheep. There are probably still a couple out there. Don't know if we can see them. I can't see them right now, but there were some sheep on the lake right there, sitting on lily pads, which was kind of weird. But they were all down there, and I took a couple of them. And they are now in a fenced-off area there. I already bred them, so there's a third one. Oh, brother. Okay, that's why I made torches. It's because I'm not done, by far, lighting this whole area up. Whoa. You see what just happened there? Like, everything froze. My mouse just froze. That was weird. And I know it's raining and it's dark and I could go and sleep, but I wanted to make torches so I could do this specifically, was go around and light things up. So I gotta just go through the rain. And, oh yeah, I'll show you the inside of this building. It's nothing special right now, but I followed the same kind of style in a way. Chose that door, spruce door, because I think it looks kind of old-timey, medievally. The windows, as I usually do instead of glass, are the little fence pieces, just like I have up there. The windows are all the little fence pieces. And inside, it's very quaint. Very quaint. Back door opens up to the farm animals. And you can get into the farm animals like that. So I think that works out pretty good. I like little things like this. Little tiny details, as I've often said. So I enjoyed making this little building, and I'm going to make basically a whole town of buildings similar to that. Can't wait. I think the next one I'm going to build is... My mouse just did its thing again. You can tell when like the screen is not moving, and all of a sudden, bam, it's like looking a different way. It's when my mouse does this weird thing where it just freezes up. Oh, here's a sheep right here. Anyway, where was I? I want to do another building now, but I don't really know the purpose of it. Like, I would still like all the buildings to have a purpose, more or less. Like, it's one thing to have a building that looks nice and looks like it belongs to a little town. My mouse is doing it again. There it goes. Weird. Anyway, it's nice to have a little building like this. I think that this building, despite the building itself not doing much, it has a purpose. It's a little farmhouse. You know, I think what I would like to do is build a windmill, like some people have. Put a windmill maybe closer to the mountains. Probably gonna be, space it out a bit, might be out over here by the lake, this tiny little inner lake. I might smooth this out. I smoothed it out a little bit. I might smooth it out some more. And die. There we go. And just kind of make it look a little bit less natural. Less natural. I want it to look a little bit refined, like humans have been there. and put maybe the windmill standing kind of right where I am. And then this whole area right here will be crops, perhaps. Or maybe I could put the crops facing out this way, perhaps. Or, I don't like the swamp colors. We see the swamp colors right here, and I don't like those. I hate the swamp colors. The wheat doesn't really follow any swamp colors, so if I cover that kind of land with wheat, it won't look so bad. Maybe. Just plotting. Just plotting. Alright, so back to the family thing. So like I was saying, on my mother's side, we used to get together for my grandmother, and we used to all meet at my uncle's house. And we'd have a big dinner, big meal, huge meal. And my family, talk about good cooking. I mean, I know that a lot of people say that home cooking is great. Some people say it's awful, but for me, the home cooking was always, always excellent, beyond excellent even. Really good. Some of the most delicious food that I've ever had came from those Christmas times with my grandmother while she was still alive, and with the whole family there, and just tasting her baking and her cooking was just always so amazing. But that's what we used to do. We don't do that anymore. Now, if we get together at Christmas on Christmas Day, sometimes we'll maybe have takeout or some other kind of meal together. But it won't be something humongously special kind of thing. You know what I mean? Let's see. 1, 2. I'm going to start from here. That'll be the tippy corner, so the other corner will be right there. 1, 2. I'm just plotting out a property right now. On my father's side, we also got together, and we also don't get together anymore. It's kind of odd that kind of happened, where both sides of my family don't get together anymore. But, that's just, I guess, what happens as time goes on. There we go. I just want to plot this out. So, I do miss it in a way, but I'm not really upset about it. I just thought that it was a little bit disappointing when I look at everybody else and what they do for the holidays, and it does kind of bring back some memories of family and the food and stuff, and there are times where I miss that kind of stuff, obviously. But at the same time, I don't mind what we do now. It's just different. That's all. How come I can't? What the heck is going on? Huh? Huh? What the? You guys hear that? What's going on? My keyboard, all of a sudden just turned itself off and on again. What is going on? Ugh. I don't know. Sometimes I think this computer's haunted. Should have actually made this with logs before. Why did I use dirt? And now I'm just replacing them with logs. So anyway, I've been thinking about family a lot lately, and they say that it's something that happens when you get older, and I was trying to think about why that is, and I think that the reason why you start thinking about family, your genealogy, where you came from, who your ancestors were, and things like that, you start thinking about that kind of stuff because you mature to a point where I know who I am. When you're growing up, you don't really have that kind of identity. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then maybe 6. Is that too tall, maybe? And if I put a roof on top, it'll be sticking out. Yeah. No, actually, you know what? I got an idea for it. So that might work out perfectly. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when you get older, you start thinking about who you are, who made you who you are. Because I've matured to the point where I know who I am. I like who I am. And I am curious about who made me that way, why I'm that way, what led to that point. A lot of people compare it to just this truly one of the only miracles in the world is how you can have this random, almost seemingly random mix of genes and things that happen throughout time that brought two people together. I don't know if you guys remember, what was that movie with the superheroes where they were kind of gritty superheroes? One was Rorschach, and you had that angel guy and the blue guy. What was that called? Minutemen or something like that? I don't know. Whatever it was called. And one of the lines in that movie, the guy was saying like he didn't believe in miracles, and then thought about it and realized, life itself is a pretty big miracle. The fact that you have these random things that go on and two people meet up and have a child, and that child grows up, meets someone else, has another child, and like all the randomness involved in the genes creates someone who can be a really wonderful person, and that in itself was the miracle. I think that's kind of nice to think about. So when you get older, you know who you are. You want to know more about why you are who you are. When you're younger, you're still learning, you're still growing. You don't know who you are yet. You may think you do, but you don't. And so a lot of the time, people, when they're young, they don't care. I never really cared about who my family was. I may have been a little bit interested from time to time, but I never really cared about it. If someone were to tell me, oh, your grandfather was so-and-so, I would say, oh, that's interesting. And if they wouldn't tell me that kind of thing, then it would still be, oh, that's okay. Don't really care. But I think it grows in importance when you get older because I'm just curious. That's the right word. I'm curious to know why I am who I am and why I am who I am. Because I can only imagine that part of me, the reason why I think the way I do, the reason I act the way I do is because of my genes, because of my family. I'm not just talking immediate family. I'm talking about like my ancestors, the way that they were raised, even. We're beyond genetics. The way that they were brought up, the ideals that they had, led to the ideals that their children had, and their children, and so on. These aren't all original ideas that I'm having. These are often ideas that my family has shared. If you talk to my brother about some of the things that he believes to be true, different ideals, I mean, then we'd probably share several of them. It's because it's just what we grew up knowing and grew up learning from our relatives and the people we were around all the time. So it's just interesting to know what cultivated that over time, over history. So I've been watching the show recently called Who Do You Think You Are? And it's obviously a play on the coarse accusation, I would call it. Oop, my mouse did the thing again. Where someone is accusing you, like, who do you think you are? But it's actually a very nice show about celebrities finding out who their ancestors were, what their histories were, and more often than not, just like me, they don't know who they were to begin with. Sometimes they have an idea, oh, my father was in the military and I want to find out more about what happened to him in the military. And then other times it's I have absolutely no idea even what my relatives' names were, which is very much like me. I did not know who my relatives were, what their names were. Looking at this now, I almost wish that I could actually extend it a bit. Like, if it could go out a little ways. Something like from right there, 5-ish. 1, 2, up to there maybe. And then that's the corner there. It would also be nice if I could do like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to there. And it'll be right on the edge. And then come around. Sorry I stopped my story. I'm just thinking here about this building as I do. This is often, again, one of the reasons why I build so often off camera, because I have to stop and think quite a bit. It's hard to tell a story and think about something. Even counting is difficult when you're talking about something else. Definitely using a couple parts of my brain there. Oops. There we go. So what I plan on doing then, let me just think about this. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try this. So the reason I'm doing this, in case you can't really tell, and I doubt you can, is that this is going to be a wall, and this is going to be a wall, and this is going to be a wall. It'll all look like that. And then probably right about 1, 2, 3, maybe right here or so. Not with dark oak, but just as an example. You can have stairs going up. So, like so. And then one more up, I think. Yeah, and then the floor will be here. Oh, finally the rain ended. So I'm not going to use dark oak, although that doesn't look bad. Actually, that looks pretty good. Maybe I will use dark oak. So that's maybe what it's going to look like is come in and there will be this stairway up. And this will all be, let's use spruce. Like so. Like so. And then I'm running out of oh no, I'm not. Just in the middles of these, I guess. So right there and there. Oh, that's completely even. Wow. What are the chances of that? Okay, well that works out. And then just kind of like, let's do, this will all be inset anyway. I'll have to get torches and light it all up, clearly. And then like that and like that. Oops. Actually, which looks better? Or maybe just like that. Or does it look better the inverse? Which is, of course, like that. Oh, that looks a little bit better, I think. I don't know why. Makes it look a little bit taller for some reason. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So just kind of do like that. Yeah, that might look alright. And then the floor will be up there. And then instead of a door on the ground, I'll go up here and put a door rightish around there. Or maybe even, probably preferably, because it opens up to the outside here, is right about there. So that'd be interesting. Ooh, I'm excited about this now. I'll just finish this off, just the floor of it, while we continue to talk about the story. So, when I left off the story, I had basically said, you know, you gain interest in your family and where you come from and how you are formed, how our babbies formed. You want to know more when you get older. I don't know why, really. Like I said, it's maybe because you know who you are and you're just curious about it. But there's got to be another reason, because I hear so many people as they get older, they want to know more about where they're from and who their family was. Even if they never really cared, like me, I never really cared too much in the past. I'm curious now, for sure. So, it's curious. I don't really know why. I've been watching this show. People don't know much about their families, just kind of like me. And it got me very interested in finding out more, especially watching this show, Who Do You Think You Are? Because quite often there are these celebrities, and they find out that their family wasn't very well off, to put it nicely. Often their family was either homeless or in jail or not very well to do. And interestingly, because these are oftentimes fairly significant people who are, you know, comfortable living. Some of them going to very nice schools in their later years. And, you know, to think that their family had zero, zilch, nothing, so little that their families were split up. You know, you'd hear of a person who, because they lost their job or didn't have work, their family was essentially homeless, and because you were homeless, your children all got taken away by the church, and because the church didn't want to pay for the children, they would get sent off to a workshop and have to work all day toiling. It's just unbelievable stories like that, and I was interested about, you know, what's the history with my family, what happened with my family. So, and I had never been told anything by my father. He had told me a few things which I have now shockingly found out. Whoa, my mouse is doing it more often now. Anyway, I shockingly found out may not have been completely 100% factual, correct. So let me tell you about that. It was quite interesting. I was doing a bit of research, and I didn't know where to start. So I just typed in my last name, and from there I found someone who I had never heard of before, someone who had passed away, their obituary. But I saw in their obituary that they were born and raised on the same farm that I knew that my grandfather had come from. Or at least that's what I had been told, you know, is that my grandfather, and my father, in fact, too, was all born on the same farm out in the middle of the country somewhere. And I remembered the name of the farm the second that I saw it, that was the one. So I looked into their history a little bit, who was their father. And it actually said in the obituary, daughter of so-and-so. I thought to myself, oh, okay, that's a little interesting piece of information there. You know, getting that kind of information. Very interesting. So I used that to find out more about, like, okay, so that was the family homestead. Who else was there? Like, what were the brothers and sisters? And, you know, tell me more. And I found a family. This is my great family. So, great-grandfather and great-uncles. Found out that there were 3 brothers. And they all worked on a farm with their father and mother and a nanny when they were young. And 3 farmhands for helping on the farm. They had a big farm, sounds like. Nice big 5-bedroom house, which, you know, in the years were like 1901 or 1890 something. And so this is a long time ago, and they had a big 5-bedroom house. Must have been just incredible at the time. So it sounds like they were doing fairly well. You know, they weren't completely rich, you know, they were just farmers. But they weren't poor either, considerably. You know, they lived, it sounds like, by the fact that my grandfather worked on the farm, he was born there, and he worked there for 30-something years, and then my dad was also born there, and my grandfather's father was born there, and my grandfather's grandfather lived there. It seems like, you know, I was almost destined to be there too. I'm surprised that we aren't there. But the story was that I heard since I was a kid is that, and this is where it was one of those drop the pen kind of moments, I call it, where you find something out about yourself or your family or something that you just didn't know. I've had a few moments like that in my life, one of which I found out that I have a half-sister. That was one of those moments where it's kind of like, excuse me, what? You know, I what? And it's almost like the feeling you get when you find out, you know, that someone's pregnant or just some unexpected news, you know? Not bad news, but like unexpected good news. It's not good, but it's not, using a baby as an example is a bad example because that would be really good news. But just news, finding something out that's shocking, you know? So, drop the pen moment, and it was the fact that I was looking at the census data, and if you're young, you don't know what the census is. Census is something where the government essentially comes to your homestead, or they used to do this. I think they just send out a survey now. They come to your home, wherever you're living, and they say, okay, how many people are in the house? What are their gender? What are their age? Where are they from? You know, things like that. Like there's a bunch of questions that you gotta answer. And these census things go way back. If you go into Europe, they go into, I think even the 1700s may have had census data. I'm not 100%, but I know that I saw some from the early 1800s. So it stands to reason that they may have had some in the 1700s even. So, oops, long time ago, they had these censuses, and they were useful to find out, who lives in your country, and historically very interesting to find out, details about who was living there and where they were from and so on. I don't even know if, these governments who were doing these census, this data, if they even realized years and years and years later how important they would become to people. I don't know if they actually ever really figured that out. But they've become very important. So I was reading one. It's kind of like birth and baptismal records. You look at someone's birth record from a country or when they were baptized, and it seems kind of insignificant in a way. When was someone baptized? Who cares? But it can tell a person, what family member was there, whether the family was together, who the mother was, who the father was, what age they were, what their religion was, and the list goes on and on and on about different things you can find out about people. So anyway, I digress because this story's getting kind of long now. I was reading the census data, and one of the things that it shows is that my great, this is two greats, great grandfather immigrated to Canada from another country, which is odd because I got to take a step back and say that the way that it had always been told to me since I was a little kid. I remember back, when I was in just elementary school, and you got to do some little genealogy project for school fun kind of thing. It was like a teacher project, make a family tree. Okay. And I'd ask my parents about the family tree and stuff, and they would tell me. And the story that had been passed down since I was a kid, and what I know, my brother knows, everybody knows, is that it was three brothers. Three brothers, this is the story. Three brothers came from France, moved into Quebec, Canada, which is a province in Canada. And the three brothers, two of them left Quebec and moved to Manitoba, where I am, and became farmers. The third brother stayed in Quebec and had a family there, big family there. The two brothers here, they had family and then were on the farm. And ultimately, sometime in the 50s or so, they decided that, we need to be near the city. Farming just isn't as lucrative as it could be, or maybe it's too much work, or whatever the case was. I can only imagine that there were several factors involved in it. Education, money, whatever it was. And they moved into the city. That was the story. That was the story that I was told. Is that one of the brothers, I think only one of them, moved into the city. And that's where my family comes from. My immediate family and everything comes from. And that the other one stayed on the farm, and then they split up from the farm and moved elsewhere. Which actually does kind of shine some... It does have some truth to it. I was looking into that other family, like I was saying. It would be my great uncle. My great uncle's family. And it sounded like they actually did stay on the farm. And everything's freezing up. My keyboard just started, I couldn't stop running. So I think that's time to stop my recording. So I'll finish the story real quick. Is that I was always told that version of the story. Is that it was three brothers. They came to Canada as brothers. One of them stayed in Quebec, and the two others came to Manitoba. Eventually, one of them went to the city where I now live. That was completely not true. I was looking at the census data. Oh man, my mouse and everything is breaking. was looking at the census data, and what actually was the case is that their father came to Canada, and that the three brothers all lived in Manitoba. None of them lived in Quebec. Not a single one of them. To me, that was kind of shocking. That was the first thing that was like, oh, that's news to me. Because I was told that, they were split up and they all came together. No. Wrong. Incorrect. It was the father who came, and then the three sons who all lived here. Not just the two of them, but all three of them ended up in the province and splitting up later on. But the other thing that also surprised me is that obviously the one of the biggest things in that story is that they came from France and moved to Quebec and yada yada yada. That was the end of the story. Apparently, they didn't come from France. And that was absolutely shocking to me. I have lived all of my life saying that I have French ancestors. I would do those family tree projects in school, and they'd say, like, to the little kids, me included, draw flags of all the countries that your family comes from, and kind of just as a fun thing. And I remember distinctly drawing the French flag and kind of being a little proud of that. And untrue. My great great grandfather, the one who came to Canada, was Belgian. He was Belgian from Belgium, like the Belgian waffles. And strangely enough, French fries are actually from Belgium as well. And they do speak quite a bit of French in Belgium. And so that's where my family was from. They were French speaking from Belgium. But I had been told all of my life that they were French, that they were, like, from France, French. And to find out through just reading a piece of paper that I discovered that my family isn't even what I thought it was. Like, you might as well have just told me, oh, by the way, poet, you are German, by the way. Or your family wasn't French at all. They were actually from England, and they were English. It's the same kind of shock as, okay, well, my family then, the people who have been telling me these stories for generations, basically. My father thought it was true. I thought it was true. Probably my grandfather thought it was true. They didn't know, or were misinformed, or were just telling the story wrong. That they weren't French, they were Belgian. And it clearly lists it. My great-great-grandfather was Belgian. He married a Belgian girl, and they had even Belgian farmhands helping them. Not French, but Belgian. And you could tell the difference because they had 3 farmhands at one point. One of them was French. It clearly said French. And the other 2 said Belgian. It was that distinct. And yet, for some reason, we were always told that we were French. And it was just such an odd thing that, I told my brother the next day, and he, of course, joked around about it. Okay, see you at the Belgian club, I know whose Olympic team I'm cheering for, and, like things like that. And it was just interesting. So that was the story I wanted to tell, considering it's kind of, the holidays, and it's all about family, is, you might not even know who you are. And as you get older, that kind of stuff just gets so much more interesting. I think that finding that out about myself, that something so significant as to who made me who I was and where my family was from, and learning something so new, it's just so interesting. So I think that this has been a very, very, very long episode at this point, but thank you for watching, sticking with us to the very end. Oh, and I have to say that the Amazon donor room, this is a little footnote at the end of the episode, that there was a problem with Amazon. I know that someone had told me in the past they tried to buy me a little. It was a Ninja Turtles action figure that they tried to get me, and for some reason it didn't work. It did not work. They could not buy it for me. So I removed it from my list. That was all that I did. Someone else tried to buy me something and said, we can't ship these things to you. It won't let us ship these things and won't let us purchase them. So I looked into it, and apparently there was a big problem with Amazon where apparently there was this very, very, very hidden checkbox that I had to click off. And I had looked for it because I looked up what the problem was, and they said, well, you didn't check this at the beginning when you signed up. And I even created a brand new list to see, like, where was this thing that I checked off when I signed up. It doesn't exist. Their help pages are wrong, completely incorrect. They have no clue. It says, well, to find out whether it can be shipped to you, just look at the availability section. There is no section called availability on an Amazon page. There's not. It doesn't exist. So anyway, long story short, I got in touch with their support. They said, oh yeah, it's on this page. Just click here, click here, click here, click here, click here, click here, click here. And then you can find this little checkbox that you have to click off at the bottom of the page. Okay, done. So, now everything on the wish list is completely unlocked. And people can now buy additional things that were on there. Someone asked me today, I can't afford any of the things on there because it's so difficult. I go on Amazon and my brain is blank. I don't know what I don't like asking for things. I don't like self-charity, things like that. I don't ask for much in life. I'm happy with what I've got. Those things on the wish list, if I get them, okay, that's great. They're things that I can't really afford. But if I got them, it would be kind of nice. And that's the only point of that wish list. But Amazon is so limited in what it has. And even at that, I can't really think. I'm not forward thinking enough to say, okay, well, I'll need, this little thing. And it would be nice if I could get that. A lot of it is like cooking stuff I had on there for a while. I still do, like coasters and things like that. But, even then, it's hard to think of things that I would want. So someone said, well, do you want to make a P.O. box? And someone even said today, like, I want to send you something that isn't on your list. Where do I send it to? And I'm not going to give my address out. So it was kind of like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? I could get a P.O. box. So I looked at the prices of a P.O. box, and they're hundreds of dollars. If I wanted a big P.O. box so you guys could send me big packages and stuff, up to $700. And I'm not even kidding you. $700 a year. But still, $700 for a P.O. box. And the cheapest one I could find was like $150 for just a letter size box. Tiny little letter box. I don't know. The government sometimes, I shake my head. But I digress. I have fixed the problem with Amazon. If you have something on Amazon that you want to send me and I don't have it on my wish list, you could always be free to tell me what that is and I could always add it, I guess. And that is all that I have to say about that. I appreciate every little tiny thing that you guys do get me, despite me saying, I don't really like asking for that kind of stuff. But thank you if you did send me stuff. Like Peeps was the most recent one. Sent me the Ninja Turtles comics. I've been talking with someone else who is planning on getting me something for Christmas as well. And that's very sweet. That's very nice. Thank you so much. I definitely don't expect that kind of stuff from people. So when it happens, it's a drop the pen moment. So I think that's the end of the episode. That's it for what I have to say before my words get mumbled and jumbled any more than they already are. And I'm not even doing anything more. I'm just running around in circles at this point. So that's that. Thank you guys for watching. Share this video on Twitter and Facebook. Subscribe if you haven't already. And do all those other awesome things that you people do. And we will see you next time on TimeShot. Bye-bye.